3 seconds.
Oh, we did.
We numbered it?
Yeah, we did.
Trying to justify the lapse in podcast episodes with which only
stoners would do.
I believe only one listener has pointed out the discrepancy. And I know who that listener is. That's of course. How can you forget when someone was like, "You got your numbers are off," right? And you're like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, I was just listening to your podcast and I'm missing one." And then I go look and I go, "Oh, I misnumbered it." You're the only person who's ever brought that up. But hey, that means
we should look for that number and play that number as the Powerball all the time.
Hey, sounds like we should just play the Powerball maybe.
Are we recording here already?
Yeah, we're recording already.
All right. Let's go.
What? It's a Pot Smoking Moms podcast.
Episode 90. Season finale.
That's right. That's my homegirl, Captain J.
Yo.
I'm Sunny D. We're so glad you've joined us today. If you like us, please rate, review, subscribe, share our content. And be friends with us on all social medias. PotSmokingMoms.com is the website. Clickety-click on that.
Check it out.
If you got something to smoke, we're fixing to do's it.
Light it up.
What you got?
I'm going to finish the other half of this J that I rolled for our interview with the Green MP.
The Green MP. Stick around for that.
Yeah. And it is of
Honey
Child from Cannabis.
Nice. We picked that up this past weekend. Got some really nice products over at Cannabis. Actually stopped in at True Leaf, even though I have plenty of stock from Cannabis. True Leaf is having 40% off of their low THC flower. And so that's a deal. That's for $25. It's funny, the guy that walked in before me was like, "I only want the highest THC percentage." And I was like, "You sound like a dipshit."
You don't know how it works.
And you know what? All those bud tenders at that location, all they do is go for high THC content, because I imagine that everybody who walks up in there,
like every time I'm like, "Okay, what indicas do you have?" Even though indicas and sativas at this point don't even make sense anymore. But I always ask what indicas you have, and they always like, "Oh, the highest I have is this." I'm like, Just tell me what you have. I'm not asking you which one is the highest.
Right.
But cheers.
This is Supernova. This is the stream. It's like the Honey Child from Cannabis.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it.
And the Red Bulls.
I haven't tried my Red Bulls yet.
I was really skeptical because it was
I thought with
discounted.
a name like that, it would be like a sativa.
Right, that's what I thought too. And then I thought because it was discounted, I was like, something wrong with this spud. But no, it's fire. It's amazing.
No, I think everything was on discount that day when we were there. They're having a sale, like 30% off or something like that. They have a lot of
really good sales. Yeah,
I wish that we had a Cannabis closer. We always hit them up when we're out of town, though.
Yeah, they're pretty great. Pretty great.
So, like we mentioned, I started this J when we're interviewing our interview for later. Marina de Jesus, nurse practitioner and cannabis consultant.
We know her as Green MP on Instagram. That's how we met her a long time ago.
One of the first people, like groups of people we met when we first started. Same day we met
Green Baker,
and Pothead Mom. That's awesome.
2 people we've stuck with on our journey.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to her a little bit later.
And speaking of our journey,
yeah, man, our
quite
party.
a highlight was the Hemp Mansion.
The Hemp Mansion party was pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it came out pretty spectacular. I was impressed.
It did. It went too fast.
I don't even remember it, honestly.
I know, it was so fast.
I I missed a good portion of the beginning. I came just in time down for dinner, and that's because I was going up to get ready as
you were
people were coming in.
Right. And I was like
some people saw me still in like,
yeah, well, you're in videos where you're still like directing the orchestra. Yeah. I was trying to get ready, and then like the plan was, well, I'll jump down there and take over and receive people while you get ready.
Yeah.
So we did that.
But once I came down, like I was so anxious the whole time, but once I came down, I before I got in the shower, I went out on the little balcony and I hit the bong, took a shower, got ready, came down. And when I saw how nice everything looked and how much fun everybody was having, it looked like everybody was having such a good time. I just immediately was like chill and relaxed.
I was anxious because the people were getting there already.
Yeah,
and I was
there
like,
was a line of people,
in.
And I was like, how am I going to let them in? I don't have anything to check them
But
in.
that's the thing.
I was still getting things done.
Too, there was still people. There were, but it's so nice out front. They were taking pictures with the plants.
The plants were all in the front.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
like in the back, the crops back there didn't make it, unfortunately, because of the frost.
Right.
So unfortunately, there were no plants in the back. So I guess it kind of worked out that they were in the front for a little bit. I think we opened like 15 minutes late. Was it like 6:15? Maybe.
Right. We were a little bit behind, but everybody was pretty. Everybody was cool. Nobody was upset or anything. And like we said, there were so many pictures to take, and look at the plants out front.
Yeah, because they were still out there, and I was still trying to, me and Angie and the servers were trying to get the drinks ready, because when they come in, they're supposed to get their pre-roll.
I know, we had a fire to turn out because of the pre-roll thing. We had to end up stuffing pre-rolls. Because we had a little miscommunication there.
Oh my God, so many things. But it came out perfect.
Everybody was great.
Because our friends are fucking fantastic.
Yes.
We're fantastic. We had the vision, but our friends really helped us execute it.
But because I feel like they share the same vision and connection, and they really wanted us to succeed. Exactly. They wanted everybody to,
they genuinely want us to succeed.
Right.
Because we're all succeeding together,
Yeah, I feel like we boost each other up. I think that you find the people in the community that are willing to stick out their neck for you and you for them. Who do you vibe best with? And then you kind of try to like make that happen.
And I'm like so bummed like that there's so many people I didn't get to talk to. Yeah,
that's why I'm like, I'm so sad. I feel like it went by so quickly. Because there were so many people that I kind of wanted to like really have more conversation with. And then too, we didn't really know. We didn't know what was going to happen and how people were going to like. So stoners are we got drinks and stuff because we were like, well, it's a party. We got a DJ.
Yeah, because you
want to
dance. Dancing. Yeah, so I was like, if people are going to be dancing,
nobody wanted to dance.
Well, the DJ was also inside, and everybody was just really enjoying the outside, and it was the only place he could smoke is outside. So why would you be inside?
Right. Yeah, it was pretty great,
and everybody was pretty lit. Angie's dinner was fire. Everybody was complimenting how delicious it was. It was delicious.
It was phenomenal. And the portions were just ginormous.
And beautifully plated and just everything well done. Didn't expect anything less because, it's Angie.
Yeah. And we were like, we're going to do it big. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it big.
And Southern Hospitality was the servers that we used. And those two ladies were spectacular.
Fantastic.
They were such good service. They were willing to help with anything during setup.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
We had good people helping us that day.
Yeah, man. We even convinced people to come from another whole ass state. Like, I was like, really? That I am very impressed with ourselves because if we can convince people.
We sold out.
We totally sold out. And we convinced people to come from far. So people were in town for the weekend and they were like, we would love to come out to them. We're like, okay.
I wish there was another, because it was a really good venue because it's also a private property. So you're not so worried about doing something like what we did, which was an infused dinner party. It's on theme with it being a fucking hemp farm.
It was a hemp farm.
Angie literally used cannabis from the farm in her
dishes.
plating, in her dishes, in the salad. You know, it was just. I wish we had something like that here. Like, there's no hemp farm in like Homestead or something?
I know, right? If any of you know any hemp farms a little more local to us, maybe it doesn't take us 4 hours to get there. Maybe it takes us 1 to 2 hours. I mean, you know.
Something local in the 305.
Yeah, if any of you know of anything like that. But this was perfect. It was great. Everybody was just so happy. Hemp Mansion was happy too, because I feel like they wanted something like this to happen.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, you're one person doing one thing, so it's kind of hard for you to, like, you know, attract an audience. And we're kind of like, well, an audience is all we have, so come on.
We got the audience, we'll bring them.
Right. And it worked out. And hopefully, I mean, we got other people reaching out to us to try to get us to do something local. We have to do something Miami area.
We have to do something here at home. We have a lot of local moms that we are patrons, that are friends, are maybe some of our, like, before the podcast, actual friends will come to the events. We did have an actual couple of friends that came to the event and helped us a lot. So yeah, we got to do it here. We got to find a good space. Help us find a good space.
We will. I think we will. We're on our way. Oh,
this topic sucks. But we have to touch on it.
I know.
I'm still in shock. Like, I think it was Sunday night.
Sent me this. You texted me. You're like, what the heck is happening?
I was like, have you seen this? I was sitting there and I went into TikTok and I saw somebody, one of the news people that I follow,
under the desk.
It wasn't under the desk. I sent you her story.
They put something on.
But the first one I saw, I sent you their story.
Okay.
But before I saw their story, I saw another one, which is another news TikTok person that I follow, and mostly for the Ukrainian war stuff because he's Ukrainian. But he was reporting on it, and I was like, is this real? And I went and Googled it, and I found it, and I was like, holy shit, it's real. And I said, they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And my husband was like, how can they do that?
Yeah, that shit's ridiculous, right?
They're not going to do that. And it's a real possibility. And what's crazy is that this is like a leaked opinion draft. That's never happened before. Something like this has never leaked out of the Supreme Court before, which is basically a draft thing that's not even ready to be published. They weren't going to announce it until like June or something.
Really?
Yeah.
And who wrote it? Who leaked it? I always think it's so silly that
they don't know who leaked it, and there's not that many people that have access to this. So there's only so many people that have the ability to leak that.
I think it's insane. I honestly think they need to start dictating the penises.
They don't need to dictate anything, and just fucking bodily autonomy. It should just be
right.
Nothing. Like, come on, what the I don't understand this.
Yeah,
I don't understand why we're going backwards. And like, people are saying it's just because birth rates are down. People expected a baby boom after the pandemic, and instead people were like,
you read the part about like there was the surplus, there's no babies to be adopted. It's all money making for them. It's all of it.
It's all
to keep
about
the
money.
Poor people poor. Because, are you kidding me? You're going to tell me a country that doesn't have a maternity leave, parental paid leave, no universal access to health care.
You go into debt having a baby.
Yes.
And then you can't take time off of work to take care of said baby.
This place is not set up.
No, it's fucking ridiculous. If you want people to have children, maybe provide benefits to make it easier.
I'm saying
that's why people are not having kids, and people are waiting longer.
No
and longer
resources,
to have
and I don't blame people who don't want to have kids anymore, because really now that I have kids, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a lot. And this not only is this a lot, and there is no help around, because the lifestyle is not the way it used to be. There is not as many hands. There's not as many people in the village anymore, and the resources are very scarce. There's a freaking what's it called? A formula shortage.
Yeah.
How are we not going to address all of these things before we start talking about forcing people to have children? Yeah, it feels like we're in the freaking Twilight Zone.
If this happens, there's going to be many states where it's just going to automatically become illegal to have an abortion.
If this happens, I tell you what, a lot of people going to be leaving. Because what is this turning into?
It's Handmaid's Tale,
right,
coming to life. It's crazy. Because, oh my God, I saw this TikTok that like made me super paranoid. They're like, oh, if you have one of those tracking apps for your period, delete it now. Delete it now. They know your menstrual cycle. They know if you're fertile. They know whether or not you got pregnant. If you're tracking in there and you end up like, you know what I mean?
And
I was like, oh my God.
That's nuts. That's
Never
really
thought of
nuts.
that. But apparently, like if you use the period tracking app Flow, I don't use that one. I use a different one. Like Facebook already knows your menstrual cycle, and they like.
Listen, I'm sure with the amount of tech crap we'll be entering into our cell phones, if somebody wants to have some information on us, they will.
No, they have all our information.
But like,
they have our algorithm figured out.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't care. You can, whatever. What do you want to know? Seriously.
I like Disney. I like weed.
Yeah.
I like
sometimes I used to work in a customer service job where there was older people who, you know how older people are like very anti-technology.
Yeah.
So people would be they would go out of their way to like not record their conversation or the credit card. And I'm just like, you're going out of your way for what? For what? Somebody wanted me, oh, please don't send me my blood test results through the mail. Send them through email. And I'm like, they can hack your email.
What I don't know. It's your computer. I tried to fix it and I realized, oh, that's her computer. Yeah, well, shit's crazy. People are buying passport pictures, all sorts of stuff. You need to watch Handmaid's Tale, and then you'll be even more terrified. Anyways.
In the meantime, we got other terrifying information here on... We're already stoned, but we will read the news to you.
And this is an update on the Brittany Griner story. Remember, we talked about her, the WNBA star that is being held in Russia. So, U.S. reclassifies Brittany Griner, is it Griner? As wrongfully detained. The United States government now considers women's basketball star Brittany Griner to be wrongfully detained by Russia, according to a report on Tuesday by ESPN. Citing sources familiar with her case, ESPN noted that the new designation by the U.S. represents a significant shift on how officials will try to get her home. As a result of the shift, the U.S. and Griner supporters will likely be more proactive and public in their efforts to secure her freedom. Remember last time we reported they were trying
hush about it.
Yeah, they didn't want a lot. Exactly. Now they're like, let's tell everybody what's happening. The change means that the U.S. government will no longer wait for Griner's case to play out through the Russian legal system and will seek to negotiate her return, according to ESPN, and that Griner's fellow WNBA players and supporters in Congress will be told they have the family's blessing to bring as much attention to her case as they wish.
A State Department official confirmed the shift in a statement to ESPN. The Department of State has determined that the Russian Federation has wrongfully detained U.S. citizen Brittany Griner. With this determination, the Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, Roger Carstens, will lead the interagency team for securing her release. Griner, a 6'9" WNBA champion and one of the most decorated athletes of her generation, has been detained in Russia since February 17 when she was arrested at a Moscow airport over drug charges after she was allegedly carrying cannabis vape cartridges. The charge carries a potential sentence of up to 10 years in prison. The Russian Federal Customs Service announced the detention in early March, weeks after the arrest. In the announcement, the agency did not identify Griner by name, describing her only as an American women's basketball player who has won 2 Olympic gold medals. The announcement also came with a video showing a woman matching Griner's physical description going through airport security.
In mid-March, Russian authorities extended Griner's detention at least 2 months more until May 19th. Britney has been detained for 75 days, and our expectation is that the White House do whatever necessary to bring her home. Griner's agent Lindsay Gagawa-Colas told ESPN in a statement on Tuesday. ESPN provided some additional details surrounding her detention in its report on Tuesday, reporting that a source close to Griner also confirmed Monday that former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Bill Richardson, who has worked privately for years as an international hostage negotiator, agreed to work on Griner's case last week. Damn, it's like that, like a hostage negotiator and
now
shit.
They're getting everybody involved.
This is crazy. So the official said that does not mean that Griner is considered a hostage, which is a different legal classification than wrongful detainee. Sources close to Griner said they were not told why she was reclassified, but they were informed Saturday morning that her case had been moved to the special envoy's office. Until this past weekend, her case had been handled by the consular office, which monitors the cases of any American being held abroad without necessarily intervening. State Department officials notified appropriate congressional committees of the change on Monday.
The shift in designation comes on the heels of last week's release of former U.S. Marine Trevor Reed from a Russian prison. Reed, who had been detained there since 2019, was released as a part of a prisoner swap for a Russian citizen who had been held in the U.S. According to ESPN, Griner's team became optimistic about her fate last week, following Reed's release, which was also negotiated by Richardson. On Tuesday, the WNBA announced plans to feature Griner's initials in jersey number 42 on every court this season. The season tips off May 6th. As we begin the 2022 season, we are keeping Britney at the forefront of what we do through the game of basketball and in the community. WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said in a statement, "We continue to work on bringing Britney home and are appreciative of the support the community has shown BG and her family during this extraordinarily challenging time."
Holy cow, this is crazy.
She's been there for a minute, too.
75 days,
Yeah,
they
that's
said.
a long time.
And like, they're excited and they're hopeful after this guy was released who was detained in 2019. Like, hopefully she's not there that long.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, God.
That's pretty nuts. We hope that...
we will continue to update on this story, but geez. All right, so our next story, cannabis now America's 5th most profitable crop. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, for real.
With recreational pot now legal in 18 states, cannabis is a bona fide profitable cash crop. In November, Leafly Holdings Inc. released its first ever cannabis harvest report that examined farm licenses and production in the 11 states that have legal adult use stores open and operating. Cannabis is medically legal in 37 states. Whoa, what was that?
Shit fell.
Cannabis is medically legal in 37 states, but for purposes of this report, we focused on operating adult use states, the 11 states where any adult can walk into a licensed store and buy cannabis. For salience to the general, what does that word mean?
Salience
to the general public, the report's authors wrote, in those 11 adult use states, cannabis supports 13,042 licensed farms that harvested 2,278 metric tons of marijuana last year. Woo-wee! That's a lot of weed.
Woo-wee!
That amount would fill, oh God, here we go, guys. That amount would fill 57 Olympic swimming pools or over 11,000 dump trucks stretching for 36 miles. And it's returning... Is that 6 million? 6 billion.
6 billion.
6 billion 175 million to American farmers every year. That figure of a little more than $6 billion ranks cannabis as the 5th most valuable crop in the United States, trailing corn, $61 billion. Holy shit. $61 billion for corn?
Corn.
Soybeans, $46 billion. Hay, $17.3 billion. And wheat, $9.3 billion. Outpacing cotton at $4.7 billion. Rice, $3.1 billion. And peanuts, $1.3 billion. Holy shit. That's a lot of fucking corn.
Yeah, man. That's why corn is in everything.
It's America runs on corn. Apparently,
America runs on corn. America runs on trash mostly these days. The report said that in 5 of the states where adult use cannabis sales are legal, Alaska, Colorado, Massachusetts, Nevada, and Oregon, cannabis is actually the most valuable crop. In each of the 11 states where adult use retail stores operating, cannabis ranks no lower than 5th in terms of agricultural crop value, often within 2 years of the first store's opening. In Alaska, the cannabis crop is worth more than twice as much as all other agricultural products combined.
Wow.
The report's authors wrote, the goal of the harvest report, Leafly said, was to quantify annual cannabis production in operational adult use states, just like the USDA's Economic Research Service does for all non-cannabis crops. The U.S. Department of Agriculture tracks annual yields, prices, and estimated values for nearly every commercial crop grown in America. But the USDA does not track legal cannabis due to the plant's status as a Schedule I drug, the authors wrote. That's just weird because in legal adult use states, cannabis is consistently one of the highest value crops in the field.
It's the highest value crop in all of our lives. all of us enthusiasts. We also believe it's time to end the stigma attached to cannabis farming.
Yeah.
Far too many state agricultural agencies and policymakers still treat cannabis growers with contempt, they continued. Some right-to-farm laws specifically exclude cannabis farming. Most cannabis farmers must, by law, hide their crops from public view, as if the mere sight of a fan leaf might induce intoxication.
Oh, jeez.
These unfair and unnecessary measures are taken against a legal crop that's one of the top agriculture products in every adult use state. Cannabis farmers are farmers, period. The report's findings echo a study released last month. That research, which came via the Marijuana Policy Project, found that the 11 states with licensed adult use cannabis retailers generated more than $3.7 billion in total revenue in 2021.
Woo-wee!
That's a lot of money.
That figure amounted to a revenue increase of 34% from recreational cannabis in those states compared with 2020.
Wow.
The legalization and regulation of cannabis for adults has generated billions of dollars in tax revenue, funded important services and programs at the state level, and created thousands of jobs across the country. Meanwhile, the states that lag behind continue to waste government resources on enforcing archaic cannabis laws that harm far too many Americans, said Toy Hutchinson, the president and CEO of the Marijuana Policy Project, who added that the findings serve as further evidence that ending cannabis prohibition offers tremendous financial benefits for state governments.
Get that with part, it, everybody.
That part
is like, duh. It's like, duh.
It's like, duh.
I love you, Miami!
All right. Well, here's a positive and light story.
Hopeful. Yeah. Seeing as how it's one of the biggest crops. Let's get the children's involved.
Let's get some education out there. Let's get their minds thinking about cannabis and hemp. So apparently, Florida officials invite students grades 4 through 12 to invent new uses for hemp as part of essay contest. Florida students from grades 4 to 12 are being invited to brainstorm new uses for hemp as part of an annual agricultural history and creativity contest being overseen by the state agriculture department.
How am I not surprised that Nikki Fried is the one who has her hands?
I mean, she is the agriculture commissioner.
Yeah, but she's Listen,
she loves weed.
But on top of that, you can tell that she is running to post for a higher public office.
Yeah,
because
her name's everywhere
right now.
Yeah, she's in everyone's mouths.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants people to know she likes weed.
Hey, we voted for her once. We'll do it again.
Yep. Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried, who is running for governor, announced the new contest on Tuesday. A total of 9 students from different grade ranges could be selected to win a $1,000 scholarship and be honored at next year's Florida Cabinet meeting at the state capitol. A description of the essay requirements explains that hemp was federally legalized under the 2018 Farm Bill, and the crop is a diverse commodity and can be refined into a variety of commercial items such as paper, rope, paint, etc. Just as high-tech innovations have changed the very foundation of how we conceive of everything from phones to computers to household appliances, the same is true of hemp, it says. Some of the most notable inventions made of hemp includes planes, cars, batteries, eyeglasses, hempcrete, concrete building material, plastics, and so much more. The possibilities are endless. Hemp plastic, non-toxic.
Yeah, seriously. Talking about microplastics being found in people's bodies.
Yeah.
To that end, students are being encouraged to showcase their cannabis creativity with a 500-word essay on inventions that they come up with that are made with at least 50% hemp. Following the inception of the state's hemp program in 2020, this newest... This was trapped in there. Following the inception of the state's hemp program in 2020, this newest Florida commodity has been leading the way in creating safe and sustainable products. Furthering Florida's rich agricultural history and the state's second largest economic driver, Fried said in a press release, hemp has the potential for over 25,000 uses, including textiles, biocomposite building materials, biodegradable packaging, food, and medicinal products. We're excited to see what innovative products Florida's young minds will add to this list as we continue to keep Florida growing sustainably. The contest prompt goes into detail about how the crop is currently being utilized as an environmentally sustainable alternative to concrete, textiles, and plastics. The guidelines from the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services are different for each of the 3 grade groups that can submit essays, but all submissions must be based on a product that you have invented and that will be created with at least 50% hemp materials.
Here are the descriptions of the scholarship assignments for each grade level. So for elementary grades 4 to 5, considering the information above, write about the product that you have invented that will be created with at least 50% hemp materials. Okay. 6 to 8, write about a product that you have invented that will be created with at least 50% hemp materials. Additionally, explain the importance of this invention and why it's useful. And then for grades 9 and 12, it's the same, but additionally explain the importance of why it's useful. Lastly, be sure to share how this invention will positively impact your community and create a more sustainable future.
I would really focus on the plastics.
Yeah.
You know? Because we've been leaning on that too much now, and it's obviously bad for the environment. We got to stop that. Fried has been a vocal advocate for the hemp industry and marijuana reform in general. So it's not especially surprising that she'd helm the hemp-focused contest, even if the idea of encouraging elementary school students to write about cannabis, albeit in its non-intoxicating form, could potentially ruffle some conservative feathers. Fried has publicly stated that she is a medical cannabis card holder in the state. And she previously lobbied on behalf of a plant that was later bought out by a major cannabis company before she became Florida's top agriculture regulator.
She frequently talks about her advocacy for cannabis policy reform on social media, and she has investments in a marijuana company. Regulators at her office have criticized Oregon hemp businesses over hemp products that they say contain rocks and sticks and have failed to meet regulatory guidelines on allowable THC. Instead, consumers should buy local products made in Florida, Fried's department said. In 2018, the national bank Wells Fargo fired Fried as a client because her campaign has received donations from lobbyists for the medical marijuana industry. Of course.
Yeah.
She's trying to legalize it. Of course, lobbyists.
Yeah, and of course she's investing in it too. I mean, shit, we should be investing in it.
That's interesting. I wonder what these kids are going to come up with. And it's interesting that having them think about hemp in that way.
Well, we definitely need to I feel like we definitely need to get rid of plastics in some sort of way.
So you maybe can make building materials with it. I mean, we used it all for all sorts of stuff before. Back in they made sails, ropes, clothes, paper. Like, was it like the Declaration of Independence written on hemp paper or some shit like that? I believe so.
Maybe. So crazy to think, right?
I know.
It's a plant.
A fucking useful
Talking
one.
about plant, how useful it is. So much information. We want to have her back on the show.
Yeah, because we only touched a fraction of what she could share with us.
Tip of the iceberg. But we spoke to the Green MP, Marina de Jesus. She's a nurse practitioner, cannabis consultant. She's CEO of Flow Grown Genetics in Oklahoma. And
Flow Grown as in Florida grown?
Florida grown. Originally from here.
Yeah, the growers from here.
We had a wonderful conversation with her. So much information. We hope you enjoy. Here it is.
When we first met you, it was at the Blunts and Brunch event. It was the first time we went to anything cannabis related ever. And we met you and the Green Baker for the first time.
Our first time we were going to meet Diane too. We were meeting Pothead Mom.
We met Diane too.
Yeah.
That same day for the first time.
Yeah.
She headed there with us.
That was a good event, though. That was a really good event. That was like the beginning of their whole women's brunch series. I remember, right?
It was.
That was like one of their first ones.
It was decent.
It was, they had good vendors and stuff, but then we experienced that and we're like, well, we want to do something like this, but better. Like in the sense that it's actually a sit down brunch or meal.
Yeah, well, we went to a couple.
We didn't get to eat. I didn't get to eat any food
at the brunch.
You didn't?
No, I didn't get it.
And you're the host or the host.
No. I'm talking about the event we went to.
You don't really get to enjoy it. You're just so busy making sure it all goes smoothly.
No, I'm referring to the event we met at. I'm referring to the event we met at. Of course, at our event we ate. Yeah, because we sat down with our people and we ate. But I mean, at the brunch thing that we met, the brunch.
It was a little.
I wasn't even able to get my food, my infused food that came with the ticket.
I remember that now. You're right, because I don't think I didn't eat either.
Yeah,
I think I got like one mimosa, maybe. And then
I got the
mimosa.
mimosa.
Waiting for the food, but then it never ended up coming out or something like that.
Like it ran out or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yours, I mean, you guys, the Hemp Mansion one, I'm telling you, it looks so good. You can't really go wrong when you go with the Green Baker, though. I mean,
I know.
I'll be honest with you. I've seen her, cater different events, different crowds, and she nails it every time. The food is just so good. So, and she's just such a good energy.
Yes.
Like that's the kind of energy you want around you, because it's that building energy.
We knew from the moment we met her, we wanted to work with her. And whenever we did do any kind of, because we had the dream of doing a dinner party or a brunch or something like that. And we knew if we're going to do it, we're going to go with Angie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good choice, ladies. Good choice.
We got nothing but compliments. Are you guys
thinking about doing more events like that? Like this is like the beginning, right? For you guys?
Hopefully.
I mean, yeah.
In terms of the events, not the beginning of y'all, because I know you guys have been
no,
for
but
a while.
Right. For events, like, yes and no. I mean, I want to do events. I want to do intimate things. I don't want to do anything like super crazy big or anything. But like, also too, like, we have to be able to make some kind of profit. It's a whole lot of work. And like, it's running around. And like, at the end of the day, it makes me happy because it makes other people happy. And the people who like really invest in us, the podcast and all that. But, but I mean, we have to figure out something because
Yeah, but you will though. And you know what? That's okay. You got to remember too that you started off in a venue that's really expensive, which is fine because you started off with a bang. So that's not a bad thing, you know? This is, you got everyone's attention now, all right? This is the
True.
point where you pivot and figure out how to make it work by being cost effective. So you don't have to do it at the head mansion. It's done, it's over with. That's yesterday's news, okay? Time to pivot. Find yourself venues that are willing to do it either for free or for, you know, they give them, it's like a give or take, you know, maybe if you do a bunch of advertising for them, they're willing to give you a discounted
Yeah,
price.
I mean, honestly, it looks like the only way to go is like sponsorships, like having dispensaries put their name on it by like buying pieces of the party.
And they will, honestly. I mean, okay, so several years ago, I started the Women's Cannabis Collective, okay, which we all know ended up going to crap, but it's okay because it was all a learning experience. Now, I will be honest, in the very beginning of that was 100% self-funded by me and three other girls. And it was very difficult. I was in the exact same predicament that you're in literally right now. And what you do is, like you said, just reach out and do the sponsorship packages. There's going to be tons of dispensaries that are going to want to work with you guys. And when they put up that money, it's a good thing. Everyone wins because you guys are a positive voice in the community. We need more people like you guys to do events. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys help destigmatize things, not just for women, but for families all around. Like, hey, it's okay. Cannabis is not this crazy poisonous drug that you've all been brainwashed to think it is, you know? So we need more people like you. And don't be afraid, because dispensaries are dying to give people like you the money to help you make it happen. You understand that, right?
Yeah, we really also too, we've been looking at what other people are doing, and something that we saw being done in Arizona that we'd like to incorporate out here is also involving a charity, so that not only are we, you know, we're creating an event, an awareness and destigmatization, but we're also helping,
yes,
you know, women, or we're thinking like homeless, like moms or something, you know.
Well, you know what? This works out perfectly, ladies, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a nonprofit organization. I'm not like an established 501c3 right now, so don't, you know, people don't quote me or whatever, but I am not fully nonprofit in the sense that I literally don't take any of the money for myself. It literally gets used to help other people. So my nonprofit is called Project Faith, which is, oh my God, my brain just... Farmers Assistance Initiative to Heal. Okay? Farmers Assistance Initiative to Heal. Woo! That stoner blank moment, you know? But anyways, so what I do is I will put things up for, we'll say donation. They are kind of donation because people will donate like $5, when in reality what I'm putting up has a value of like $500. You understand what I'm saying? So I get people to raffle on stuff, and for every dollar that they put in, we match it. My company, Flow Grown Genetics, matches it. Okay. Then we take all that money, and then what I do is I use it to help whatever patients need help in whatever way. Meaning, if someone needs to get registered but they can't afford it, and you know, and it's a legitimate, you know, not just someone that's like, oh, I'm being lazy and I want to just get registered. Like, yeah, obviously you have to qualify, but if you qualify, then that's what Project Faith will cover. Will cover your costs to get, you know, this recommendation from the doctor and the state fee. If it's, oh, you know, I am registered, but I really, really can't afford my medication, and you know, I really, really need it. It's life-saving. Mm-hmm. Then that's another thing we step in. So we step in however ways we can. If there's families that had a major loss, let's say a hurricane hit them and they just need supplies to live, we step in and help them that way as well. So maybe there's a way where we can marry the two, right?
Yeah.
And put that into your events and stuff. I'm more than happy to help you guys out because, like I said, we need more positive people like you in the community. So
That sounds amazing. When did you start that?
I started it last year. I did a soft launch and it went well, but I'll be honest with you, I just haven't had the time to like go at it full fledged. I know what I need. I know I need more people to help me out with it, but it's also one of those things that I'm being very cautiously with because of my experiences in the past and because honestly, it's my heart and soul of what drives me. At the end of the day, I still am a nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. I'm still very much an emotional creature. I can't help but want to help people. It's just my nature, So I just thought, all last year, I'm like, I got to do something. I try to help people as much as I can, but I want to try to like streamline this and make it bigger. And my goal is honestly to try to partner up with different dispensaries or different companies in every state so that you can roll it out throughout the United States. That's like obviously super long term, but could you imagine a world where there's people that are actually doing something good. Like, hey, you can be a multi-billion-dollar company, truly, and you can also be pretty freaking decent at the same time and help us out, right?
They have the money to
pay all these influencers, you give all this free product to these influencers, and hey, that's fine. Everyone's got to hustle. I'm not hating on that. But if you're willing to give influencers thousands of dollars a month, right? Why aren't you willing to do the same in patient transactions? Meaning, figure it out in your system to where a patient can come in and get free medication if they really, really need, if they qualify for the program, right?
Yeah. They should definitely allocate like a certain amount to dispense every month. Pro bono, free, to help people. Because this is very expensive
they do it with
medicine.
Influencers. And if you can pay an influencer, you can surely donate free medication.
Yeah.
Right? So
tell us about Flow Grown Genetics. I love the name, by the way, because, you're incorporating your home.
So Flow Grown Genetics was actually, it's Flow Grown, obviously, for Florida grown.
Yep.
And it was actually originally founded by Flow Grown 101. I don't know if you follow him. He's kind of a ghost. He doesn't really like to, he hides in his hole. But that's a good thing because his best friends are his plants. So he's become a monster of a grower and breeder and extractor. And truly, I'm blessed to have been taken under his wing to learn everything from in and out. I mean, he's been teaching me growing, extracting, everything you can think of, which is amazing. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, but it's always been a lifelong dream of mine. I've always known that I was going to be in the cannabis industry. I never knew exactly how or where, you know what I mean? I just always knew, like anyone who's known me since I was 15 years old, I tell them what I do now and they all laugh and they go, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah,
of course.
That's exactly. Yeah. Like seriously, it's so funny. I even have like some ex-boyfriends that are like, you literally, everything you said you were going to do, you've done, and I'm like, I told you, I know you didn't believe me then because it was so taboo then. It was so illegal back then. And honestly, I was halfway in, halfway out for over a decade, to be honest with y'all. But now that the opportunity has presented itself, it's the freedom, the possibility to do what we want to do is there, and it's spreading like wildfire throughout the United States. So I just decided, let's look into the Oklahoma laws. Let's see if we can make this happen. And so me and Flow Grown 101, we left everything behind, put it all into Oklahoma and, got the licenses for growing and extracting. And we've just been slowly building this, slowly, gradually. And it's been an amazing experience. It's scary sometimes, honestly.
That's a leap of faith you guys took. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm going after my dreams and that's all that matters. So
how is that process? Because you said you got your licenses and everything you need in Oklahoma. Why did you guys choose Oklahoma? Is the process easier in that state?
Absolutely. So what's crazy is a lot of people don't know this because Oklahoma is a medical state. So everyone assumes it's like, you know, the other medical states, especially like Florida, which is a totally like crazy system.
Right.
The vertical integration bullshit.
You guys know it's I don't even know what Florida is, but anyways.
The fucking shit show. That's what it is.
Oklahoma laws, believe it or not, we're medical, but we are far more recreational than pretty much almost every state. I mean, we have lived in Colorado, and that's a recreational state, and our laws here in Oklahoma are actually way more relaxed than they are in Colorado. So It's crazy. Yeah. So it's also easier here because of the possibility. When the Oklahoma government set up the laws for medical marijuana businesses, they did it in a way to help people actually achieve their goals. Whereas in other states like Colorado, it was legal on a state level, but what they weren't telling you is that the county levels could block it. So you could go apply for a license and do all this stuff, waste hundreds and thousands of dollars, potentially millions of dollars, and then come to find out that, oh, your county commissioner just doesn't like you, doesn't like cannabis whatsoever. And so we're going to block you. Too bad, so sad. There's nothing you can do. And that was actually really common in Colorado. It's still really common. There's only certain pockets of Colorado that you can actually easily start and grow a commercial cannabis business, you know? Whereas here in Oklahoma, it's the complete opposite. It's as long as you pay the fees, meet all the requirements, and stay compliant, you know? So that's pretty much the hardest part, is making sure that we're compliant at all times, because the rules change here and there. But the good thing is that Oklahoma is really good about not doing any like drastic changes overnight. Not like Florida.
Yeah, they implemented the rolling limits.
Rolling limits, yeah.
And like, you don't
tell me about that, because I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me?
It's just all they're doing is they're taking your whole month and they're splitting it into 4 weeks. Like they're not letting you.
Like they're like,
you can't take all of it at once.
Partitioning it for you.
Yes, especially
they're
with
trying
flower.
to divert people away from flower because it's only on flower.
Yeah, it's only on flower.
Yeah, weird. And see, Florida laws never made sense though. It's like, how are you going to make concentrates legal before flower? Right? Before, you know, and then like the whole edible thing, and now this, it's constantly something, and I'm sure it's all money driven, but
always is.
It's so frustrating.
How is it growing in Oklahoma? Are all your facilities indoor? Like, do you do outdoor too? Like,
we do
it gets cold,
outdoor,
right?
greenhouse, and indoor. So we ended up getting 15 acres property and slowly building that.
Wow.
So it's been very interesting because obviously I think like outdoor is newer to us. We've always been indoor growers. So the adjustment to the outdoor is obviously a drastic adjustment. I'll be honest with you. Oh my goodness.
So many more variables.
Outdoor growers, I have so much respect for them. Yeah. The discipline, the drive, like, yeah, seriously, I bowed down.
She's bowing.
No, agreed. I mean, it just even in general, just growing period, but not, just growing outside, like you can't. There's nothing you can do. Mother Nature's in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what's happening right now. It's kind of crazy because we're in tornado season. Ooh. And I was just seeing on the news before jumping on here that a bunch of grows got completely destroyed by tornadoes last night. Sad. And I just see that and it just makes me like clench a little bit. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, it could have been us, but luckily, you know, gotta pray to every god that doesn't happen. But
with how the laws are so gray around cannabis, you know, because of, you know, the federal level, Can you have insurance on your crops? Like, is there insurance that you can get for stuff like that may happen?
No, not really. You can always get like property insurance, but truthfully, most companies won't insure you because what you're a cannabis company.
Exactly.
I have heard that there are honestly insurance companies that will insure cannabis companies. You're paying a really hefty fine, just the same way with like banking. Most banks won't help you out because of the whole federal legality, but there are banks, they'll do it, but they're like, oh yeah, you just got to pay $1,000 a month to bank with us.
We got to pay for that risk we're taking.
Like you don't have $1,000 to just hand over to them.
You're in the cannabis industry. You definitely have $1,000. That's what they're. That's what they're thinking.
Not in the beginning.
No, definitely not.
Trying to grow your company.
Definitely
it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Dang, it's so complicated.
But no, with the weather here, it's very similar to Florida. Honestly, the only difference is that we have a crazy wind factor. Like our wind is insane. So like our greenhouses had to be rated for up to 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Jeez.
Yeah, like things that you don't think of in hurricanes. Florida. Although Florida, with the hurricanes, I would hope that they would do the same thing.
Yeah.
But and stuff like that, they have to be snow bearing. But other than that, we're very similar to Florida in terms of our weather and bugs and things like that. So
how do you like going from Florida to Oklahoma? Is it different?
Yeah,
there's pros and cons. Like,
isn't that where Tiger King's from?
That life is slowed down. I'm like more of the farm life. I'm totally like I've turned into such an Okie these days. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm like, just leave me with my bong and my cows and I'm happy, So that's like a big difference for me because, I used to live downtown Orlando, which is like nothing compared to Miami. But, it's a drastic difference from that to out in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of animals,
Very drastic.
But then on the con side of it, I do miss the beaches of Florida. I do miss, what you guys have in Florida that you probably don't realize is Florida was a very well developed and constructed state. And what I mean about that is your roads, your buildings, construction in general is much higher quality than a lot of other states.
Fairly newer, I think, also, right?
What's that?
Fairly newer. Also,
because Florida, South Florida is newer.
Better, like the quality of it. Like here in Oklahoma, because it's so under-regulated, it's luck of the draw. You might get a contractor that's amazing, or there's a high chance you're going to get one that's like, pretty questionable, Whereas in Florida, you get more consistency. And that's something that you don't really notice when you're like traveling somewhere on vacation, but when you're living here and like the littlest little things, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, things in your house that you notice, you're like, this would never happen in Florida.
I was gonna say Cuban food. Okay, like Cuban bread, like once you leave Florida, good luck finding that.
Dude, that's the other big thing. Okay, so I'm Puerto Rican and Flo is Cuban, okay? And Flo is from like Little Havana, Miami, Cuban.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't understand. Anytime that I go back to Florida to visit family, he's always like, you better come back right. And you already know what that means. I need my pan con lechon. I need my freaking Cuban, like everything. So last time I came back with empanadas, with freaking sandwiches, quesitos. I came back with the whole night.
Dude, we went one year for Thanksgiving to Texas. It was like the only Thanksgiving that we left somewhere else. Yeah. And we took like a cooler filled with frozen dough from a bakery of Cuban bread. And everybody, when we had it for dinner, everybody at Texas was like, "Oh my God, no wonder you brought this. It's amazing."
Yes, dude. Yeah, especially because see, all these states over here, we have a crap ton of Mexican food. That's like the majority is a ton of Mexican food, ton of Chinese food, zero Caribbean, nothing, it kills me. It kills me.
It would kill me.
You have good Mexican food though, I bet.
Oh, the Mexican food is fire. Like,
yeah, I
you
bet.
can't go wrong. There's those little food trucks everywhere. I basically am like best friends with my food truck, my taco guy down the street.
Stalking the food truck guy. I've been there. I know. If it's a food truck worth stalking, I'll do it.
Oh, dude, you think I'm playing? We're about to do a trade, like one of our Frenchie baby, puppies for a lifetime of half off tacos. Like,
nice.
Hello.
Yeah, I
That's
would.
great.
That's a good trade.
Dude, gordita for life, man. I do not care. No shame in my game.
So, who does Flow Grown Genetics grow for? Is it like do you guys have like compassionate care licenses so you grow directly for patients, or is it like dispensaries?
No, so our licenses we are allowed to sell to other growers or processors. We're allowed to sell to dispensaries. And then on the processing end of it, we can process other people, like other growers. It's all license to license, basically. But on a commercial level, on the processing end of it, we are allowed to process, I think, up to an ounce for a patient of extracts if they want to. Like, they're allowed to bring us their starting material, and we can, do it that's the one weird law in the whole that thing. But in general, we grow and extract for other commercial licenses. So other companies that either want to put it on their shelves in a dispensary or take our starting material to make extractions out of it.
So you guys also do extractions there at your company. Like, what different extraction methods do you guys do?
So we are completely single source, which, from seed all the way up. We breed our own genetics, we grow our own genetics, we extract our own genetics. So right now, we've been doing live resin crumble, we do live hash rosin, we do everything. A lot of it, we can do cured, but we like to do a lot of live extractions. But basically any kind of resin or rosin extraction, water hash, FICO, full extract oils. The one thing we don't really do, and it's because I'm just not a fan at all, is distillate. I'm not a fan of distillation. It's such an empty extraction. You're basically just stripping everything from the weed, and you're giving someone mostly THC, very little of the rest of it. It's not my favorite extract. And because of that, we just don't do it at all. So, we like to stand behind the things we do.
Yeah,
We're not
agreed.
going to just do something because it makes money,
Yeah.
So
for sure. You're a better salesman when you're really all about the product. Like, I don't know, if you're not into it, how are you going to sell it,
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm of the belief that I'm not going to sell you anything that I won't take myself. And that's not to say that I, use everything all the time. I use it all in combinations, variations depending on what my needs are daily. But for the most part, yeah, like I can't sit there and be like, yeah, here, take this distillate. And when in reality, I hate distillate. Like, I can't even emphasize how much I hate distillate. So, but I know different people have their preferences, and I know that cannabis affects people differently. So if distillate's your thing, go for it. It's just not something that I'm a fan of. So
I'm not really a fan of any other form than the flower. That's really the only.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? Is there a reason?
Edibles don't work for me.
Okay.
So no matter how many times, I don't know. I felt nice at the dinner, but I think that was just because I finally was able to relax. Once dinner
it might
started.
be a combination.
Probably were enjoying
It might be a
yourself.
combination.
But I've never had edibles work for me, so that is out. I don't like vape pens. I don't like dabbing is too much.
Dabbing is too much. See, that's what I was going to ask you. But do you temperature control your dabs? And when you
I don't know what I'm doing.
Where are you starting at? Because a lot of people start
I have no idea.
Way up high. What happened?
Maybe. No. Okay.
You want to check?
Yeah, go ahead. It's probably Julia.
No, someone's
at your door.
Yeah. I don't know. I the way that I do my concentrates, because I don't really do the dab thing with the torches. I'll put it on top of a bowl of flour. So I'll do like flour, and then I'll put the wax, the resin, whatever, right on top, and then I'll just heat it on the top of it. Just smoke it that way.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, there is no correct exact. I mean, there's things that you should avoid. Obviously, you don't want to take in carcinogens. You don't want to torch your lungs out, and but you do what works for you, basically, right? But the only thing that I do want to say is that if you learn how to properly dab for yourself, meaning you find what product you like the most and what temperature it'll hit you effectively without making you feel like, oh my God, this is overkill, then I feel like it's going to open an entirely different world of cannabis to you guys. But in the same token, don't feel like you don't have to go there.
I know,
right?
it could be a little overwhelming, because there's so many different types of everything out there. And once it's more legal, it's just gonna continue to grow. There's gonna be all kinds of stuff, and people are gonna want to innovate product. I mean, it's really exciting. You know,
it is exciting, but I think part of the problem too is the amount of misinformation that there is. Okay. And that's just from my experience. I mean, even now I honestly, these days, I go on Instagram, I'll post something, respond to the people that message me, and I get out. I don't spend too much time on it anymore like I used to. But the times that I do look, or even just within that little short window, I notice that there's still so much misinformation, and it's not anyone's specific fault. Like, I feel like it's an overall system default, things slip through the crack, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And then part of the problem is that there's so many people that are hungry to get in and be successful and thrive. And not everyone has the best intention. So it's kind of like a big ball of, I don't know, of a mess. and that misinformation leads to situations like this, where you feel like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to try, exactly what you just said, basically. And that, part of the problem is because of all the misinformation, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what's what anymore.
Yeah, we do get to try like different luckily we do get to try different products.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like rosin is really the nicest of all the all the extracts too.
Because it is. I mean, it's going to be definitely the cleanest, most medicinal method of cannabis consumption. And the reason why I say that is because, especially if it's done correctly, without contaminants getting through, it's because you're literally extracting it, not using these crazy chemicals, as your solvent or whatever. What we use is ice and water, and it's clean. It's such a clean, and it's one of those that is full body, it's full spectrum.
Right.
So you get all your cannabinoids. You're not dealing with how you deal with distillate that's super empty. You're getting the whole shebang. And that's why I was like, I got to show you guys. I'm going to send you, when we get off here, I'm going to send you guys some videos of the rosin and stuff that we extract. And you'll see, we'll go over it and you'll see what I mean. But Yeah, rosin is definitely the top choice for me. I mean, that's basically what I live on, but I'm also a big CBD person. Like I do my CBD tincture 3 times a day, and then I just add rosin and flour to the mix, and hey, we have a happy party.
Yeah. Super duper full spectrum.
What's that?
Super duper full spectrum.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. So, so what do you mostly just do flour then?
Yeah, I do enjoy edibles. I do mix those in.
Mm-hmm.
So I like edibles. We actually got some like sugar sticks recently from one of the dispensaries. Usually like drops and like things to mix in with beverages is usually really bitter and nasty, but these people figured it the fuck out. It's like there's one that's just sugar for your coffee. It's the cannabis. There's one that's like it's just a sugar for your coffee, and then there's another one that's like I got a fruit punch flavor, and it's really good. I was expecting it to be. I've had some really nasty, bitter kind of. And I'm just like, you take it because you're like, well, I mean, I guess, but at the same time,
job done.
Right? But then you taste these other ones, and you're like, well, did you guys not try it and go, maybe not, maybe we should try again, and then like come up with another formulation? I don't understand how they were like, it doesn't taste great, but I guess we'll just shelf this. Let's put it out there. Like I would be embarrassed. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people forget that just because they're fully licensed doesn't mean that they actually produce good product.
Yeah.
The land of the law, and I still stick to this. I used to think this before, and now more than ever, after the last year that I've had doing what I've been doing, this rule remains supreme, and that is fire in, fire out. Your entire product line heavily depends on your starting material. So if your starting material is some midsy, boofy, crap, guess what? Your extracts are only going to be as good as your midsy, boofy crap.
Yeah.
And so are your edibles and so forth. The only thing that you could convert that into that people won't really notice and that in a safe way would probably be topicals. And that's it. Anything else, you're only as good as your starting material. So just always remember that.
Yeah, dude, now that I think about it, you're right. Their flour was not the best. So now that you make that point, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's all in how you're starting material.
Yeah, for sure.
People always tell us, like when they try our crumble, a lot of people try our crumble and they're like, dude, shut up. They're like, this is rosin. And I'm like, dude, it's not rosin. Like they don't believe that we extracted it using solvents, basically. They're like, there's no way, this is so clean. And I'm like, that's because you're only as good as your starting material.
So what would you, okay, so can you, I know it's maybe not as brief, but what are the different? It's the extraction processes for each of those different kinds. So when you do rosin, you said it's cold, and what's the difference?
Well, there's so many. Okay, so you have solvent and you have solventless or solvent free, however you want to break it down to. But basically the long and the short is there's solvent extractions, and those solvent extractions use chemicals such as ethanol, butane, propane, things like that, right? The solventless extractions, they just use water, ice, that's it, so it's a lot cleaner, and so you're basically extracting the trichomes. So for instance, I'll give you a very quick, I don't know how quick it'll be, but I'll try to make it of how we get to live rosin. All right. So we chop the plant, we freeze it immediately. From there, you take it, put it in washers. We have these, big giant washers they go into with ice and water. We do a certain amount of washing cycles, collect the water after each cycle. that goes through like a series of filter bags. And that's where you separate the plant material with the trichomes. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then when you are done with the whole wash, from there, you take it, they're like filter bags. You take that and you scoop out. And what you're scooping is literally the trichomes, because what you did was you froze it to a point and then you washed it to fall it off. And that now you're collecting that. Okay. So you collect that, it goes into a tray. And then from there, you go into a freeze dryer of whatever sort. So we put ours in we have a harvest right. We put in all the trays, set that, forget about it because you're not going to see it for at least another day. So, after 24 hours, you go back, you pull it out. And at that point, that stage of it is considered water hash. So at that point, that's the stuff that you see in the dispensaries that, oh, here's water hash. I don't know. They also call it bubble hash. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I don't think they have that. I don't think they carry that here. I've never seen hash. I don't know that any of them
have yet. I think Fluent tried to release some back in 2019 or 2020, and it didn't receive very good feedback, so they discontinued it. It's also not something that a lot of companies are going to want to do because we lose our asses on it. This form of extraction method, you don't get very high yields.
Doesn't sound like it, yeah.
So from that point, though, you go from the water hash, and then you can take that and dab that if you want. You can put that in your banger, dab it direct. You can top your flower bowl like you like to do and smoke it that way as well, whatever you want to do. Or you can take it, collect it, and put it, in those little pouches, those bags that you see people pressing in the rosin presses.
Yeah.
So you fill the filter bags, and then you go to a rosin press and you press it, and then that goop that you see running down, that's rosin. Damn. So that's hash rosin. And that's the final step. That's the final step.
So that's straight up just trichomes.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, it depends on the person extracting it and the starting material. For the most part, yeah, it should be. That's why if you ever look at my stories, I'll put live heads for the head, because I mean, like trichome heads is what I'm referring to. I mean, I didn't know. Sometimes I write that and I'm like, God, I hope people don't think I'm like being sexual. Giving free head over here. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I'm like, God, I hope these people understand that I'm talking about trichome heads. But yeah, so in theory, yes, it should be the cleanest form. However, there's companies that don't have the best starting material and don't know how to extract properly. So you're going to get contaminated with plant material, but it's still cleaner than, say, contaminated with butane or ethanol or, something like that. So if anything, you're still just taking in plant, But what was I going to say? Something about the hash was, about the yields. The reason why rosin, you're now seeing it more heavy in Florida, way more than before, right? Remember, it was like nothing, and then overnight, rosin, everyone loves rosin, right? Which is great. I love that because I truthfully believe that it is the cleanest, most medicinal form of extract. But the problem is that we don't get very good yields at all. So if you get 5% yield on a return, that's considered good on rosin. And what I mean by that is I can put in, say, 2,000 grams of flour in the beginning of the whole process. And at the end, I'll end up with maybe 100 grams of rosin.
Wow.
Do you see how that's a huge, So companies, knowing that, they don't want to do that. They don't want to take that kind of hit because, they could sell the 2,000 grams for a lot more money than selling 100 grams. You know what I'm saying? There's only so far that'll go. So that's where it gets really tricky. But then that's where breeding comes into hand. And that's where we thrive because Flo has been growing for over 30 years. And he literally, like, he loves plants. He literally, like, I'm not even kidding. He loves plants. So he loves breeding and creating these strains. And so he's always on the hunt for these strains that are not just medicinal and fire, you know, to the nose and the palate, but they're also high yielding. So lately we've been finding these amazing crosses that are producing like almost 7%, which is incredible for rosin, you know? So anyways, I don't want to bore y'all.
That is not boring
No,
whatsoever.
it's not. Yeah, we rarely get to hear about that. So
that's amazing. So researching and developing, like, and finding other strains that have these high yields and, like, you know, creating your own genetics. Mm-hmm. How do you guys go about that? Because you said do you seek out other genetics?
We do. We start with other people's genetics sometimes, and sometimes we start with our own. It just depends on where we are in the process and what we're trying to create. Like for instance, our most recent one that we created, which we call it Nameless Hoe.
Oh yeah, I was looking at some of the strains that you recommend, and that you got a Neruvian OG and Nameless Hoe, which I have not come across.
Yes. So both of those are done in-house, meaning Flo was the breeder of those. The Neruvian OG is a Divine Gelato 3 crossed with a Paiho number 3. So that one, for the most part, it comes out kind of like a grapey, gassy, you know, type of bud. Super crazy, frosty, very medicinal, still has a great OG earthy exhale. So he kind of nailed all the little components in that one. With the Nameless Hoe, that one is a cross of Seed Junkies. I know the name is ridiculous, but I'm going to tell you where it came from so you can understand. There is a purpose, I promise. So the Nameless Hoe is ice cream mints crossed with Paiho. That's where the hoe comes from. So
you couldn't think of a name.
That name is why we went that route was because out of that cross, the Paiho just dominated it through and through all the way. Like it just, you know. So we were like, okay, this is definitely Paiho heavy. We couldn't come up with like any clever name. Every name that I liked was already either taken or just seemed to like, whatever. So then finally I was like, you know what? Nameless, she will remain, you know, she's a nameless hoe. So that's perfect. That's how we ended up with that. But yeah, for the Nameless Hoe, we started with Seed Junkies genetics, you know, and it's a whole process. It's not what people think. You don't just like, here's plant 1, here's plant 2, and they have babies. Like, no, a crane comes in.
They fall in love. You have a ceremony.
No, it's actually a really long and stressful process. And one that like we've been working at so many new breeds for such a long time. We're not that vocal. Honest to God, we have been kind of in our own worlds. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I see you on Instagram or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but dude, compared to before, I'm telling you, I'm like barely on there. Like just my minimal to, you know, to keep up with it and be polite and whatever. But, so we've been working at these for a long, long time. And the new ones that we got coming out, oh man, I'm so excited. Because what I ended up doing too was Flo was never, you know, it's crazy to think that he's been growing for over 30 years and he was never well educated on CBD, the benefits of it, like just everything about it. And so one night we were talking about it. I taught him all this stuff. And he was just so dumbfounded and so in awe with it. Like I said, he truly is in love with plants, like not just cannabis. We're talking about any and all plants. He's that person, you know? So we are sitting there talking about it and he's like, wait, why am I not breeding these? Like I can grow ridiculous things, like we have the potential to, you know, make some real medicine out here. So I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do it. So we started way over a year ago on implementing CBD into our line as well. Yes. So now we're going to start working on, I mean, we've been working on it, but you're going to start seeing more CBD strains as well, and 1-to-1, more ratio strains, but like fire ones, you know, like when's the last time you saw a fire 1-to-1 that you're like, damn, like I want to smoke that. And then when you smoke it, you're like, oh my God, this is exactly what my body needs. You know, that's the goal.
I want to see more of that. Yes. Not these ridiculous high THC flowers, more ratio 1-to-1s, you know.
Yeah. I feel like shouldn't it be that way anyway? Yes. Shouldn't it be CBD, THC? Shouldn't it all be full spectrum, like you were saying? Like, isn't that that's always what the question in my mind is, because of the legalities, did they start pulling, because essentially it's the same damn plant, it's the same plant. Did they start separating them because of the legalities, and so that's why you don't see plants that have a combination of CBD, THC?
I don't think so. This is my theory, and I'm not the expert of everything. I'm not even the expert of anything, to be honest. But this is just my theory of my own life experiences of dealing with this industry for the last however long. My theory is that the reason we don't see these ridiculously fire CBD strains is because even just to learn how to grow to that level has not been easy. Okay. And because of the legality, the legality has created to where we're criminals. You understand that? So because of that, most people, if you're going to sacrifice your freedom and you're sacrificing, you know, your livelihood, you're going to want to go after what makes a ton of money, right? And I think that's what's really influenced that drive more than anything. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I've been an underground grower for 20 years, but my focus and my specialty has mostly been on THC plants because that's what makes me money. Does that make sense? So then what happens is all the CBD stuff kind of fell by the wayside. And that's not to say that you can't find any fire CBD. You know, I'm not trying to insult anyone. That's not it. It's just that the shift is different on the CBD side. On the CBD side, they're more focused on mass production so that they can pump out millions of pounds or whatever, hundreds of pounds to companies that will turn it into like white label almost. You know what I'm saying? Turn it into topicals, products, tinctures, and all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a different business model. It's a different mindset. You know, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. You know, a good chunk of our industry, it has been money motivated, you know, and obviously we need money to function and survive. And anyone who says it's not about the money at all is a damn liar. I'm sorry, but you need money to live.
Yeah, you can love what you do, but at the end of the day,
there's a fine line to it. And I feel like in all reality and actuality, if you really get to the heart and soul of our industry, the vast majority of the players don't come with good intentions. Yeah. And you know that very well. You can see it yourselves in Florida. Look at that whole system and how it was started. And you know what I'm saying? I don't want to use any specific names, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like the demand was so high for higher THC plants that genetically people just kept trying to create higher THC plants, higher THC.
Exactly,
didn't care about factored out the CBD. Yeah. And now people are realizing that a combination of the two is so much better. And now like we're having to go back and like start going, okay, we need to start getting CBD back into the mix here so we have more ratio.
And what we've found too, just from us starting to do it is that the CBD strains are actually a little more difficult. They take longer to stabilize out. They're just slightly different, you know, not anything crazy, but enough to where if you've spent your whole life only doing THC strains and then you tried your hand at that, you know, you might run into problems that you wouldn't think of, you know? So, but
that's interesting. I never thought that CBD. If I don't know. That's just me. I figured if you could grow THC, you could grow CBD too.
Yeah, no, you can. But I just mean like, you know, and that's even with THC strains. It all really comes down to the genetics. I'm telling you that. Like, genetics really matter. And a lot of people, what they don't realize is that, like, something I see all the time is people on Instagram will put a whole post about, oh, I found 3 seeds in my flower, you know, and now they're breeding with it. Okay. If you find seeds in your flower and you want to grow it for yourself, by all means do it. Just please, I ask you, don't use those seeds to breed and try to pump out new strains and try to, you know why? Because you're
like a copy of a copy, right?
A disservice. You're basically pumping out unstable genetics. You don't want to do that. You know,
is that like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy? Is that what that turns into?
No. It's just that, you know, it's a seed from that plant. So it's that plant's genetics, but you typically, you get seeds either when the plant is stressed out, or you get it if it's accidentally reached pollen. You know, if pollen has hit it on accident in any way, it'll also produce seeds. And I mean, plants that grow from seeds, sometimes you'll get like 1 or 2 throughout the whole plant, and that's fine. You know, that's normal because it was a brand new first grow from a seed. But I'm talking about like the plants that have, you know, you finding seeds everywhere or whatever. A lot of people get excited thinking like, ooh, I hit the jackpot. Now I have, you know, this person's genetics. But in reality, you have their stressed genetics that's unstable. So that means that if you go and try to grow with that, yeah, I mean, you can grow it, but you have a chance of producing a lot of plants that will herm out on you or things like that. You know, it's just, you don't want to get in the habit of that. You know, you want to try to keep the genetics as strong and as stable as possible. We have to preserve our plants' genetics in general, because otherwise we'll just turn this entire industry into a sham and it'll all be like whatever. You know, it's already a big cluster of made up strains that are, you know, like it's already a mess. So we don't need to add more to that, is what I'm saying. But yeah.
So many strains.
There are, endless. And it's crazy. Like nowadays, you know, some people are like, oh, this is a pure, you know, a land race. And I'm like, bro, there's no way that's like a pure, you know what I'm saying? There's just so much crossing nowadays. It's hard for me to even believe sometimes. Like when someone's like, oh yeah, I have this cut, you know, I have this clone of whatever, this person's genetics. I even question that sometimes, because nowadays there's so many people that are just like taking something and changing the name and then passing it on. And it's a big problem.
Yeah.
I bet.
We've heard of people. We had someone on our show who works for a dispensary and even saw that they were mislabeling strains. She could tell just by smelling it because she's been around them.
Yeah.
And people were mislabeling the strain.
Yeah, because you can tell. I mean, there's some strains have a super distinctive smells. And yeah, there are different phenotypes, but there are some strains that there's no getting around that smell. You know, like you already know, you open it, you're like, oh yeah, this is purple punch. I can smell purple punch from a mile away, you know?
There's certain strains we're very familiar with too. Super Lemon Haze, I know what that smells like. And Mandarin Dreams over here.
Yep.
What are some of your guys' favorite strains?
Well,
Yeah, I like Super Lemon Haze. Yeah.
Yeah.
She likes Mandarin Dreams.
I mean, so you probably like your cannabis to help you focus?
Who, for me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like help you focus, but make you relaxed enough, but not knock you out. You got to be functional. That's
right.
what I gather.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, because that's what Super Lemon Haze will do to you. So that has to do with the terpenes that are found in the strains. So that's the one thing I always tell people, like, don't even get caught up on a name per se. Like, go into a dispensary and ask to look at the cannabinoids and the terpenes. That's how I shop. I don't care what name you slap on it. I want to see the profile because I'm looking for certain things, you know? If something is super heavy in myrcene or linalool, generally I'll avoid them because I don't want to be put out. You know, I like things that are high in pinene. I like things that are high in limonene. Things that'll make me functional, you know, and focus, but I'm cool as a cucumber, you know. I gotta have that relaxation too. So get into the habit of that. Honestly, that's the advice I give every single person. And when they actually start doing it, you're gonna start noticing, like, oh shit, she was right. Like, there is a reason why I gravitate to this. You know, the nose doesn't lie.
The nose
does not exactly. But here you can't get the terpene profiles on all cannabinoids.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like too. Unfortunately, here like the bud tenders aren't very also privy to that knowledge.
That thing you scan should have that info.
The QR code?
It really should. It does not have it.
No,
what does it have?
We've tried
results or something like that.
It doesn't have like the terpene profiles, and when I tried to open it, it did nothing for me. But like, it's not like, I think the only dispensary I've seen put
Rise
the terpene profiles is Rise on their labels.
I remember that about Rise, and I love them for that. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
everyone else.
Damn, that kind of sucks too, because there's no way you can even look it up online because
it varies.
That's another misconception too. People are like, oh, just Google what terpenes are in whatever. Like, yeah, generally speaking, that strain should have a decent abundance of those that are listed online. But the actuality is that we really don't know that. You'd have to actually lab test that. You know, there's so many different phenos that could come out of that same exact strain. You really don't know what, you know? So, the phenos, I wholeheartedly believe that the phenos, you know, have a lot to do with the environment. So what my Blue Dream might develop and what True Leaves Blue Dream might develop, or might be night and day, you know, you don't really know.
You should listen to Smoking Science. I was listening to an episode and they were talking with a lab testing person, a person that does all the testing in the labs. And they were talking about how it could vary. Like, it could be the same exact strain, but if it was two different places grown by two different growers, it can be completely different. Yeah,
but I feel like
absolutely 100%, dude. Not just two different growers, and I'll tell you from our own, you could have the same strain, right, in different locations of your grow room, and they develop differently. And that's happened to us, you know, even in some of our harvests before, you know, we'd have, okay, here's Neruvian number 9, here's Neruvian number 13. And depending on which light was hitting them, what plants were around them, the way that the fans and all that stuff hit them, all that stuff influences it. Because I remember, you know, one time we had a harvest and I was like, wait, which one is this one? And, you know, they were like, oh, this is 11. I'm like, there's no way this is 11. What happened? And it was driving me nuts because 11 is our like signature powerhouse, like, you know, the goddess of all goddesses, you know, she is a frosty little, you know, icy little biatch. And she really is. And that specific run, she still came out beautiful. I'm not going to diss her, but she came short. She came off a little short, you know, like she would not have made the cut on Top Model. But
it's a living thing. Of course, it's going to vary from, you know, I mean, it's a living thing. You can't even,
absolutely,
as much as you try to.
we tried to look back and troubleshoot what happened, because we were like, we've run this one over and over and over and over. What was the limiting factor? And it turns out that the bulb that it was under, the specific light that one was under, that bulb had to be replaced. It was going out. So the rays weren't hitting her like they did, in previous runs. Simple fix.
But something as little as that.
Huge difference.
Right. It makes a huge difference. And that was our interview with Mariana de Jesus. You can find her on Instagram at thegreenNP, like nurse practitioner, or at flowgrowngenetics_OK.
OK as in Oklahoma.
We thank you guys for being wonderful audience members. We love you so much.
If I don't hit my teeth on the mic.
Did you hit your teeth on the mic?
I did.
That's what that sound was, guys. We appreciate you trusting us to not only fill your ears with the word of cannabis. I feel like I'm a preacher now.
Thank you if you've made it this far and you're listening right now.
I know.
We love you.
Thank you.
You're one of the good ones.
You're one of the good ones. We like you the most. Don't tell too many people, but you're thebomb.com. You know who else is thebomb.com? Our sponsors.
Our patrons, our girls, and Jesse.
And our girls and Jesse. Thank you to a special thank you to all of our patrons: Yanni,
Destiny,
Lauren,
Jesse,
Christy,
April,
Shelby,
Denise,
Peaches,
Natalie,
Meredith,
Terry,
Angelina,
Jenny,
Catherine,
Camilla,
Amanda,
Jessica O,
Josie,
Jessica C,
and Chrissy.
Welcome, new patron Chrissy. Yay! Thank you for joining us, Chrissy, and helping us at the brunch.
Exactly, and helping us
Terry.
at the...
We basically, I told her, we hazed her into the patron group because it was the day she signed up. She showed up. We're like, help us make goodie bags.
Hey, you're one of us now. Get to work. No, she was more than happy to pitch us in. It's fun.
Like Terry and Diane.
We say work, but
yeah, we have fun doing it.
Hey, you too could have your name mentioned at the end of every podcast, or
help us make goodie bags at the
exactly. Become a patron. People ask, "Oh, how can I be invited to the next thing?" Become a patron.
Patrons find out about all our events first. They find out about it when it's just an idea in our brain.
Right.
We brainstorm with them during our Zoom sessions.
Yeah, so become a patron. You'll get that. You'll get early access to episodes, additional content, video, phone conversions, discounts on events, and you'll be the first one to know everything. Zoom smoke sessions. We gotta have one that's coming up this week, I think.
Yep, next Friday.
Oh,
this Friday. Now when this airs. Forgot.
All right. Hey, subscribe, rate, review, and share our content.
Thanks for listening this season.
You love us. We love you too.
Be back in a few weeks. Bye.